Is it satisfactorily recording now?
It is now, yes.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 7 p.m. We'll call to order this meeting of the Town Council. The first item will be a roll call vote of councilors in attendance. Councilor Anderson.
Present.
Councilor Golembeski. Councilor Mataronis.
Actually, Councilor Golembeski is here. He's just signed back into the meeting.
Okay. Councilor Mataronis, you are muted, sir. If you could unmute and acknowledge.
I am here.
Thank you. Councilor Moore.
Here.
Councilor Mushin is here. Councilor Golembeski
is here.
And Councilor-elect Wallach.
Here.
Thank
Bob,
you.
I gotta say, in all my 22 years on town council, this is the first time I've seen 6 council people. It wouldn't be very good on a vote, that's for sure.
Well, this too shall pass, I guess is what will happen.
Very good.
Thank you. The first item of business this evening is the approval of minutes of November 5th.
Motion to approve the November 5th, 2020 town council meeting unless anybody has any questions or comments on it.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski to approve the minutes of November 5th. Roll call vote. Councilor Anderson.
I'm going to vote aye, and I want to just make note again as at the last meeting I chose to abstain from certain matters. I am mindful of my lame duck status, and I want to defer to the newly sworn council that will be comprised at your next meeting. But I also, as I've thought it over, I do believe that as a currently certified council member, I believe I retain the right to vote, and I'm going to play it by ear and exercise that as I choose at this meeting. But I just wanted to make clear that I believe I reserve that right and will make my decisions as I go.
Very good. Your aye on this is accepted. Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. So it's 5-0. And the minutes of November 10th.
The minutes of November 10th, 2020 town council meeting placed on file unless anybody has any questions or comments on that.
I'll second that as well.
Motion is made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski. Roll call vote. Councilor Anderson.
I'm going to abstain from that one as in that case, I didn't participate in the meeting.
Acknowledge. Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. So the vote is 4 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. The next item of business is to convene the Board of License Commissioners for the purpose of a remonstrance hearing. So I hereby declare that hearing to be in place. And I would like to begin by saying we'll convene this hearing, and our first item of business, which is not typical, is a transfer request. So the first item that's before us is a Class BV license for Crothers Restaurant, currently held by the Crow LLC. And that license, in that license application or renewal, Crow LLC is passing stock, but not a change of name or location, to RL Flounders. The restaurant will still be doing business as Crothers Restaurant. And
No, I have to correct you, Bob. Bob, that's not true. They're not taking the name of Crothers. They're only buying the stock of the business. Did you hear me?
I did hear you.
Okay. So the name Crothers is not being transferred.
All right. So the request is a transfer of stock only for the premises located at 90 Pottersville Road. Now, I'll point out that this renewal application, should we approve it, will affect the renewal of a Class BV license, which we will entertain next. If that's approved, that license would be issued to RL Flounders through the 30th of November, 2021. Furthermore, other licenses outside of the liquor licenses, when they are considered and if approved, they would be issued also to RL Flounders. So just to be clear, that's what the impact of our approval of this transfer has by extension. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the transfer and the request for a liquor license through November 30th, 2021 for RL Flounders.
I'll make that motion, and I know the particulars that are going to be the new owners of the Crow, or whatever the name's going to be, personally. And I think this is a good thing for the town. The fellow's a construction worker, so I think he's going to make some improvements over there. So go ahead, Bob. I'll make the motion
then is
to-
made by Council Mataronis. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, Councilor Moore seconded that motion.
May I
And it is-
ask before you proceed, can you make sure that it's clear that the vote says that it's contingent upon receiving all state and local requirements?
I'd like to add that to my motion.
And I'll second that.
Thank you.
The wording of the motion then is to approve a transfer of this license and to grant the license for the upcoming year, subject to satisfaction of all state and local requirements. Is there any discussion on that matter?
The only discussion I'm going to have is, I think I'm going to abstain. I'm not going to recuse, but I'm going to abstain. I'm not sure if I've got a conflict here or not in this particular part of it, because I do the work for the contractor and I do the work at the restaurant. So I guess there's a monetary issue involved, and I'm just don't want to run into an ethics violation.
Very wrong. Any other discussion?
I had a couple of questions, and I don't want to suggest anything that would interfere with the transfer of ownership here, but the two issues I had were in the past, and I'm not sure if this is the appropriate place to raise this. In the past, we had and I know the world is so crazy that all these things have to be revisited in current circumstances. In the past couple of years, we had a condition with regard to some of these licenses in terms of the renovation of the bathroom to ADA compliance. So I don't know where that's just a question. That's one. I'll put my questions and then they can be addressed one at a time. The licenses we're being asked to approve and transfer here are the liquor licenses. We're not considering the entertainment license here, are we, at this point?
We're not in this,
No.
in the approval of alcoholic beverage license. No,
Okay.
that
So I
will
get-
be before us.
So I wanted to make sure that I want to make sure that we are not, as long as this is otherwise in compliance, I want to make sure we're not interfering with the transfer of ownership in our decisions. But I am concerned about the requirement with regard to the ADA compliance for the bathroom.
I did
I don't know where that stands or whether that's germane here.
speak to the participant, as did Mr. Mush, and maybe Mr. Mush, and I think you spoke with him longer than I did. Would you like to let him know that that the particular has already gone to the building official and put a plan forward to approve the bathroom? I think you have the time frame of that, Bob.
I do. I notice also that the prospective owner is in the list of those who's with us, and she may wish to comment. Suffice it to say that what my understanding is that one of two options will be pursued by the new owners, either of which will result in what they expect to be no longer than 6 months prior to their being able to reopen with a handicap accessible bathroom available. And given that this owner has association with the building trade, is himself a builder, it would seem to me that we can have some confidence that that is his intention.
Yeah, maybe, I didn't realize Lori was in the audience. Maybe she would like to just say a few words on what her plan is on that place to put Larry's mind at ease at any question that he might have, and the rest of the general public, if she would like to speak. Lori?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yes, we can.
How are you all?
Very good.
So our plans, is to keep the restaurant running and clean it up and really do a nice job for the town, and just carry on business as usual.
So can I interject? Can I interject?
Sure.
So conversation that myself and Bob have had on this,
But,
going into this, we didn't.
This is Roger Wilkie speaking. He's one of the other particulars. I know his voice, so just so everybody knows who's speaking, Roger.
Okay, all right. So a conversation that I had with Bob when we were transferring, we didn't realize the issue with the bathroom. When it was brought up to us, we did address it. We submitted a set of plans. The building inspector has approved them. So the bottom line is that we guarantee within the 6-month time frame it will be resolved. So one of two things will happen. If we can continue to keep the restaurant open as it is, we would run with a 6-month issue, or 6 months that we would ask for. If we decide to shut it down, depending on what happens with the time frame, we would do it earlier than later. But that hasn't. We still don't know until the date of the closing what will happen on that. So that's a discussion that I had with Bob on this.
Agreed. And of course, with the developments of today and the announcements statewide with respect to what is going to happen with restaurants and bars, we can't say with assurance that which of those may be the path that the new owners might choose to pursue. But if, for example, there is restraint on being able to even serve in a restaurant or open a bar, then as Mr. Wilkie has said, the intention is to move sooner rather than later to correct this problem. In any event, his intention is that that we will have a ADA compliant situation there no later than 6 months. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Are you
Thank
ready
you.
to vote?
I appreciate. Thank you for that information. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Then I'll ask for a vote. Councillor Anderson. I'm sorry, we're suffering from
I'm going to vote aye.
Verizon DSL delay. The vote is aye. Councillor Golemesky,
I'm going to abstain.
abstain. Councillor,
Did anybody second that motion? Did Andrew second that?
Yes,
Yes.
Andrew
Yes,
did.
I did.
Okay, vote aye.
Councillor Moore,
Aye.
and Mushin, aye. So the votes are 4 in favor and 1 abstention. Have I got that correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Next, then, we will move from that specific into a series of license applications for various classes of license of alcoholic beverage license. First is Class A, we have two applications, Adamsville Wine and Spirits and Postal Interests, which does business as Gleason's Wine and Spirits. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve Class A licenses.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski to approve the Class A license applications. Any discussion? Any remonstrants that wish to speak?
Would just please clarify that all of these votes should have the contingency that they're contingent upon receiving all state and local requirements.
Thank you. Consider the motion by Mataronis, seconded by Golembeski, to be amended to include that, subject to their agreement. Seeing
Agreed.
No disagreement. That then is the motion. Is there any further discussion? All right. Counselor Anderson,
I vote aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. The vote is 5-0. Class BV Limited License. This is for Commons Lunch and Simmons Cafe and Market. Is there a motion to approve these subject to the conformance with all state and local requirements?
Motion to approve.
A second.
Motion made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski. Is there further discussion? The vote then, Counselor Anderson,
Aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
motion aye. So the vote is 5-0 in favor of that. Then turning to the Class BV license, there are two licenses. One, the Barn Restaurant, and second, Stonehouse. Is there a motion to approve those licenses subject to all conformance with all state and local requirements?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski to so move. Is there any further discussion? A roll call vote then, Counselor Anderson,
I vote aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
motion aye. So the vote is 5-0 in favor. Class D license, Delta, two licenses, Secundit Golf Club and Secundit Point Club. Is there a motion to
Motion.
approve those licenses, subject to all state and
Motion
local
approved.
requirements?
Motion to approve the Class D licenses.
I'll second.
And that motion is subject to conformance with all state and local requirements. Is there further discussion? Roll call vote. Counselor Anderson,
I vote aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
motion aye. So that also passes. That then completes our remonstrance hearing. Is there a motion to close the remonstrance hearing?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mataronis, second by Golembeski. Roll call vote. Anderson, yes, sir. Counselor
Aye.
Anderson, Golembeski,
Aye. Yes, that comes through.
Yes,
I'm aye. I couldn't hear Larry's.
we heard Larry.
Okay.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
motion aye. The remonstrance hearing then is closed. We will move to the consideration of miscellaneous business license renewal requests. First of those is an indoor entertainment only. Again, reiterating that approval of this license request, which is submitted by the Crow LLC, is to be issued consistent with our action earlier, to be issued to RL Flounders as a result of its successful transfer of the Class BV retail beverage license. So the request is for an indoor entertainment license for Crowther's Restaurant to be issued to RL Flounders.
Motion to approve that indoor entertainment license to RL Flounders with all state and town and state requirements being met.
Second.
There is
Motion is made,
a member of the public wishes to speak.
the motion is made by Counselor Mataronis, seconded by Counselor Moore. Public comment, please go ahead.
Thank you. I just had a couple of questions before we voted on this for the town councilors. Have any of the town councilors in either a professional or personal capacity previously contributed to financially to in cash or in kind to events or entertainment events at the facility? At the Crow DBA Crowthers or RL Flounders, whatever it's called now?
I think the Republican Town Committee held events there, but that wasn't us individually. I don't believe I have.
Are you asking us for a poll of those of us who are on the council?
Yes, I'm asking.
I have made no such contribution.
I've never made any contributions. I've done work there. I don't know if that's what she's considering. I mean, I've done, lights broke, I go in and fix it, and I get paid. I'm not sure what she means by donations.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay, have you contributed in cash or in kind to entertainment
I don't
events?
understand the question either.
Right, have you contributed in cash or in kind in a personal or professional capacity to entertainment events at the Crow DBA Crowthers and or RL Flounders?
No.
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 Okay, and then my second question is,
Well, speaking for myself, I don't,
We just have a delay with Mr. Anderson. Larry, did you have something to say?
well, again, I'm not quite sure I understand the question. I've been there, I'm trying to think, I'm not sure under which ownership, when entertainment has been taking place, that is, if buying a meal is in kind, then I bought a meal while music's been going on, but I haven't contributed to I don't recall contributing to the entertainment directly, if you can hear me.
We can hear you, yes.
My second question is, have any of the town councilors received contributions from the applicant to yourself as an individual politician or to any initiative that you spearhead?
No.
This is charitable contributions or campaign contributions.
No.
I've done work there and been reimbursed for my services, but I've never received a political donation or any kind of charity.
No.
No.
I have not either. Anderson.
So none of the 5 counselors has answered affirmatively to your question.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The
We
motion
are
on,
ready. We are ready then to vote on the motion before us, which is to grant the indoor entertainment license. Are you ready to vote? Counselor Ann.
I had I know I have a lag here, but I hope you can hear me when it catches up. I have both the indoor and the outdoor. I'm under current circumstances, as I understand it today, the licenses we're granting would be constrained by the restrictions imposed by the governor on the operation of restaurants and the size of crowd.
Yes.
So so this is not quite as routine an approval for me as it would otherwise be. I wonder if we should be explicit about that provision. I wonder whether we should include a specific condition in this year's entertainment licenses about the requirement on crowd sizes as provided by the state. I mean, we have a general comment, but I wonder whether that should be included in all our entertainment licenses this year.
Bob,
It's part of our emergency declaration.
Bob, on the entertainment license application for Crothers or RL Founders, it says no events planned due to COVID, applying only for after COVID restrictions, live music when COVID restrictions are lifted. So I think they're okay. And I think that's what we're dealing with. It's just this specific one. But I would agree with Larry on outdoor entertainment. We should mention that they have to adhere to the state guidance as far as COVID restrictions.
Might I make a comment, Larry, that there has been a suggestion that if you shut off your video, you might not have as much of a lag in your audio.
That's fine with me.
It's
That's fine
attempting
with all of
I'll
us,
do that.
Larry.
We'd probably be grateful. I don't know.
Yeah, so we'll see if it helps. I'll do
All right.
that now. Thank you.
Okay.
Everybody tell them, help. All right, so the suggestion is that that has already been contained. I see no problem in making it part of the motion, should we choose to do so. Is that?
It's on his application that he's going to have no functions until COVID restrictions are lifted. So I think.
I mean, I think when we say all state and local mandates, I think that covers it. I mean, the state's mandating and we're mandating, you got to follow all COVID protocols. I think we got it covered.
I believe this motion lacked that phrase, but yes, we could add the phrase in if you'd like.
I would prefer you do add the phrase.
Yeah, I mean, that's the simplest way. Your point's well made, Counselor, that if we amend the motion, have it approved subject to the subject to the entity complying with all state and local requirements, that would.
Bob, on my motion, I did say that as long as it adhered to all state, town and state requirements being met.
Very well.
Or adhered to, however you want. Carol can write however she wants it, but I did say that all
Okay.
town and state requirements have to be met.
Is that then your second as well, Counselor?
That was my motion.
Yes, no,
Andrew?
I'm asking Andrew.
Yes, yep.
So the motion then is made and seconded to approve this license application for indoor entertainment, subject to the applicant meeting all state and local requirements. And that would include COVID-related requirements. Then, Counselor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
I'm going to abstain from this one as well.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
motion aye. So it's 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Thank you. The next item of business is that of outdoor entertainment. For outdoor entertainment, we have 2 applications, both of them from Carolyn Sakonnet Vineyard. To me, this application seems in order. It's the same level of request as in past years, that is 14 weddings and 14 concert events. As we're all aware, the impact of entertainment has resulted in lawsuits and in mediation and in differences of opinion as to how we ought to move forward. All three parties involved in the recent lawsuit have satisfied their responsibilities under the MOU. What's different this year? Well, first of all, there are no events specified. There's nothing listed here. No events are scheduled for that matter on the basis of informal conversation that the zoning official, if I'm remembering my source correctly, that conversation with the vineyard management has said that there are no events scheduled. The neighbors, through their attorneys, have requested specifically for sound attenuation system installation. That's different. And of course, the third thing that's different is COVID and the resultant limits on gatherings. So such things as hundreds or some number of cars to be parked is again subject to a new set of restrictions and requirements. So with that in mind, I would propose the following as a motion. I move that we accept the application as submitted and that we require no fewer than 30 days notification before the first occasion of each type of event for approval of that type of event. And the onus is on the applicant to notify the council with sufficient advance warning in addition to the 30 days to allow the council to schedule for consideration the request, for the applicant to have time to implement whatever sound mitigation conditions the council requires in the event that the council approves the application. That long statement is my motion. I will forward that to the clerk, but if anyone would like me to repeat it prior to obtaining a second, I'm happy to do so.
But I'll second,
Just-
and we can have discussion.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, I'm-
Second.
Councilor
Okay.
Mataronis seconds that motion. Now, please discuss it as you will. Our attorney Galvin, is present with us as well, and I can seek his advice if it's a matter that we need to do that.
There is a hand up from Attorney Savenka. She is also online.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Oh, let me ask her to unmute.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you. Hello, Chairman Mushin, fellow council members. I, along with Chris DeVideo, as you know, represent Brian and Natalie Eliason. You had, as part of your packet or forwarded to you subsequently, a letter that we had prepared along with counsel for Christina Carlson. And you recited it correctly that we had asked that there be certain conditions placed, as we have in the past, on the licenses if they're going to be issued. I have a couple comments, but I'm just trying to get first clarification of what you're trying to achieve. So will there be no approval tonight? It's just an acceptance of the application, and then you are going to take up whether or not you would approve it once you get a 30-day notice? Is that how it will work?
That's correct. Once we receive notification of, let's say, the first thing that's going to happen there is a concert of some sort, and it comes through with the conditions under which we can make an evaluation. What we have in front of us is simply 14 and 14, and we have no indication of what it is we're agreeing to, nor frankly, do we have any reason to, based upon recent performance where there haven't been any events, we have nothing by which to compare it. So that's the reason for that.
Understood. And I think that's a wise way to proceed to, take in the application and then consider it when it's, an actuality. I just wanted to make a couple comments on our recent travel with the arbitrations that have come out of the litigation, of which I think you're aware in part, and I've been discussing those with Attorney Galvin, and what their effect is. But bottom line is, coming out of court-ordered arbitration, we got 2 arbitration awards. And one of those arbitration awards said, this is from retired Chief Justice Frank Williams, said the parties, which included the town, but the primary parties were really the Vineyard and the Eliassons and Carlson, must agree to an implementation plan of a sound attenuation system. And we went out, we did the testing, we did the modeling, we came up with an implementation plan. We have a very, as you've seen in the letter we submitted, we have a very specific nuts and bolts plan. We also have quotes for equipment that would be required. It's a distributed speaker system. So you put a number of smaller speakers in a horseshoe or semicircle, and it better disperses the sound. And we feel pretty good about this plan because a sound expert studied this for 2 years, and he, in his professional opinion, says this will work. This will reduce community noise. In addition, it will have the other benefit of increasing the enjoyment of the patrons themselves, because it's just better as opposed to having 1 or 2 big speakers blaring music at you. It's kind of coming from all over. And I've been in touch with successor counsel for the Vineyard, and we've discussed this, and we view his new role in representing the Vineyard as an opportunity to again resume discussions and how we can come up with a mutually agreeable technical solution here. He, as of today, said he was committed to still, open channels of communication. I think, if I can speak for him, and this is fair, he didn't want to commit to buying a new system, or because it costs money and it's a tough economy, and he doesn't want to say, yes, we'll do it, and spend all this money, and they don't know if they're going to have events. And our intention is not to make them or try to force them to do something like that. It's just to get an agreement in place in the event that there are future events at the Vineyard. And our second award, arbitration award 2, Chief Williams said, go to the town council, petition the town council, continue to work with the Vineyard on coming up with your solution. And we feel like we've done so much work. We're just about to cross that finish line and have a solution that makes sense for everyone. And so, we want to come back to you if and when we get that 30-day notice, and we want to talk about implementation of this plan. And we hope that in the interim, we can agree on some solution that's already going to be in place by the time we get back to you. So, we have 2 parts, as condition as to the future concerts, and we have a very specific plan. And then with respect to weddings, if there's ever weddings, we would like there to be notice, kind of as you've outlined, a notice procedure where we can do some sound testing as we've done for the concerts and come up with a plan if deemed necessary by a sound expert. This is not us, this is a sound expert studying it and determining what would be best for the community, what also is good for the Vineyard. So I just wanted to make those comments that we've been through a lot of litigation, a number of arbitrations, and we continue to try to work with the Vineyard and would like to work with the town. Attorney Galvin has been very gracious and talking with us and trying to figure out what we can do here. So that's all I have to say on it. If this really is being deferred to another time, I just ask if Chris DeVideo, who's my co-counsel, if he wanted to add anything.
Yes, Mr. DeVideo, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. I just want to reiterate, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
I just want to reiterate, I know this has been a long journey for all of us. And I know that the town, through the prior council, Richard Humphrey, and even Gerard Galvin, trying to extricate the town from this litigation, both because, it's problematic for the town, but I think even more so because of cost and resources. And when we look at what we're asking, or which the expert has proposed in terms of a technical solution, I think it's like $30,000. We've spent, the town, the plaintiffs, and the vineyard, so much money. The cost of that distributed sound system has been dwarfed by the cost of just one arbitration. I think that if we can look at it from that context, this solution that we were asking for, which is if and when concerts are going to occur, and they are the kind with amplified music, that the distributed sound system is deployed, that if there are going to be weddings or other outdoor events at the wedding lot or 8-10, that we deploy the same sound analysis, have the acoustic expert examine it. We can all be done with this. And you don't have to spend any more money. You don't have to have the angst that's been generated by this. I think as Jennifer said, we're really at the 1 yard line. Let's get it over the goal line. But again, we can defer this process or the implementation until and unless these events are going to occur. So again, from a dollars and cents, from a practical standpoint, I don't know how many tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars we're still debating for a $30,000 fix, which will, in the end, as you see from the information provided, you will actually enhance the concert attendees' experience. So I think that's from a practical standpoint. I hope the council will keep that in mind. Thank you.
Bob, I have a question. So are we accepting this entertainment license, or are we approving it contingent upon the 30-day notification before they have any event? So is it we accepting or approving?
my motion was to accept it as submitted and then to require the following. So
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to know what the wording was,
Yep.
because I seconded it, so.
So,
any further?
yeah, I'm probably just repeating what you said, Bob, but basically we're approving 14 and 14 placeholders. 30 days before they do anything, anytime, they've got to submit to us a plan saying this is what we're going to do, and we have to approve it at that point. So this is just a placeholder so they can hold the events if they meet all the requirements at the time of the event. That's all we're approving right now.
We are accepting the application and putting conditions on how it's to be dealt with in the future. Yes.
Right, understood.
This is Councilmember Anderson. Is my sound catching up? Are you hearing me?
We can
Yes,
hear
we
you,
can
but
hear
it's
you.
not much better.
Okay. I'll keep going until you tell me to stop this motion. This is a situation where I'm a little concerned that Councilmember Wallach is not able to participate and vote, and that she may not have the benefit of the full legal explanation of this that we've been provided by Attorney Galvin in the past as a result of the, and I won't have to live with the consequences of this. She will. It had been my intention, you beat me to the punch, Bob, to propose simply continuing consideration of back that the 2016 license was not approved till May of that year, 2017.
We've now lost
It
your
was not approved till
audio.
May, not approved until February 2000. You can't hear me now?
No, now we can. Yeah.
So my phone is ringing right now. So I guess I'm in and out. My basic point was, there are 2 points I wanted to make. One is that I think that with respect to Ms. Wallach, that you might consider just continuing any action on this till another meeting. And in any case, if this motion is approved as you proposed, I do hope the council members who will decide on events keep an open mind about the sound issues, because the precedent set here can affect other property owners, other agricultural property owners, because this whole storage situation, it hasn't helped us really clarify the situation of other agricultural operators in town, and we haven't made progress on a zoning ordinance. So I do think that the precedent is very important. So those are my comments. Thank you.
All right. I think that the motion as it's stated preserves the essence of what you're speaking of. It does indeed accept the application. I think that's important to acknowledge that we've received it, but it also puts conditions on how it's to be implemented. I would agree with you. It may not meet all of what you're seeking to do, but that's the motion that's before us.
Just to add my 2 cents, I'm comfortable with the motion that the council president put forward, because I think it still gives us some leeway moving forward in how the events are actually accepted. So I'm comfortable with the motion as it stands.
And before you take a roll call, Soren Carlson Hansen, who spoke earlier, has her hand up again.
Sorry, that's
Yes, please.
it's Christina. That's my son's Zoom handle.
All right.
I just had a question with regard to acceptance of the application, and it's largely an administrative question, and it's something that I haven't quite clarified over the last few years. The vineyard applications, as they submit, they continue to say in their application that the use of the property won't be an intensification of the non-conforming use. And I'd like to ask the town council, did you ever determine the baseline for what the intensification of use would be?
Originally, the zoning official and continuing the zoning official makes the recommendation to us as to his assessment of that question. And so we didn't do independent research as council members, but we did receive such a recommendation both from the zoning official for lands that are under town exclusive purview, as well as properties that are under the Ag Trust.
So what was that recommendation that the zoning official made, and when did he make it, or she?
I don't have that information before me. It was in conjunction with, when necessary, due to a change from year to year.
Bob, excuse me, can't you just submit an information request and get all this information? It's all public record, I believe, by now. Maybe Gerard knows better than me, but I think she can get all this information. I believe it's all public record, isn't it?
Yeah, that I believe the opinion of the zoning official actually became one of the issues that was central to the litigation at the outset. And I believe that the consent judgment that was entered into recognized the zoning official's determination, I believe, and other counsel are here, that it was not an expansion of a non-conforming use, that essentially it was deemed to be conforming, or a legal non-conforming use. So that essentially became the baseline and accepted principle in the litigation. So that document does exist. I do not have it in front of me, but certainly that would be available to you. I'm sure the clerk probably has a copy of that, but we can certainly find that.
Right. I know the consent judgment found that that there was a prior use, but there was nothing about the intensity of the prior use. And each year that there's been an entertainment license request, I see this statement that it hasn't been an intensification. Yet as a neighbor, I'm quite aware of the level of prior use prior to the vineyard being sold and what the proposed figure is right now. And I would say that it is an intensification of use. So my suggestion is perhaps that it might be useful to return to the previous licenses and the previous number of events that have been held and determine, in fact, whether 14 and 14 is an intensification of use or not.
Since there has been the detail in the entertainment license that you see today, there has been a decrease in the number of events and the use of the property, not an increase. So the record of requirement to say how many are you going to do didn't exist until I don't remember the year in which we put the ordinance forth, but say 2015 as a guess. Since that time, there's been a decrease in that intensity, but I acknowledge that compared to say 20 or 30 years ago, there may be a difference. I mean, there may be an increase.
Right. I would argue that there's an increase from the point of the transfer of ownership at the end of 2012. So the new owners have increased the intensification of use for concert purposes since they purchased the property over what was the use of the previous owners.
I don't have data before me to respond to that, but I'll accept what you're saying.
Okay, so given that it is an increase of use, what is the difference between saying that it's not an increase of use and it is an increase of use? Are there additional steps that need to be taken if it is an increased intensity?
You began with, given that there has been, I'm not necessarily agreeing with that, so I don't know how to answer your question.
Okay. Well, I do have data on this. And the application says, will the use of the property intensify, open parentheses, increase duration, frequency, or periodicity, close parentheses, any non-conforming use per chapter 14, yes or no?
Right.
So it has been an increase of use from the previous owners. But ever since they've owned, for every application that I've seen, they've always said that it hasn't been an increase of use. So my question is, what is the purpose of this question on the application if it doesn't matter whether you say yes or no?
Gerard, you want to jump in?
Well, I understand the premise that the member of the public is advancing here, the neighbor's advancing here. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. However, my recollection is that part of the consent judgment was an acknowledgement, and I don't know if, were you a represented party in that?
Yes.
Right. So your attorney, I believe, consented to an acknowledgement in that consent judgment of the acknowledgement of that this use was permitted and possibly the intensity. I don't know specifically the language, but that consent judgment sort of became the springboard or the baseline of the analysis moving forward. I don't know that tonight, certainly, I don't think we're in a position to reanalyze or reassess the agreement in that consent judgment. We're looking at this, this new application, and my understanding was the main issue coming in tonight was whether the sound attenuation issues were going to be addressed or not. We'll have to go back, and my suggestion would be at the first hearing where the council is considering an actual event that is being proposed. If you want to pursue this line of questioning, perhaps at that time we can have those background documents in front of us, and you'll have time to look at that as well between now and then.
So until that stage, you will accept the application with the caveat that you cannot confirm the item on whether it's an intensification of use or not.
My recollection now, there's a number of attorneys who were involved in litigation. They can correct me if I'm wrong. And the consent judgment was entered into prior to my active involvement. But my recollection is that all the parties acknowledged that the use existed prior to, and it was a legal use going forward. I'm not sure whether it spoke to the intensity, and we'll have to take another look at that.
It did not.
The consent judgment did not?
No, it did not.
Okay. Well, I know that the council has approved for many years now 14 events.
And I have raised this in every year, except for the last few years when we have not been in a position to challenge it. I have raised this question about whether or not it is an intensification of events, and it's never been addressed by the town council. So I thought I would raise it again and see if possibly you would be able to address it this time around. It's not a new question from my side.
This is Council Member Anderson. Am I catching up to sound? Can you hear me?
Yes.
The consent, excuse me, the consent agreement that was approved by the court in May 9, 2019 was based on the building officials November 3rd, 2000 was incorporated in the memorandum of understanding and was approved by the judge. And because the building official said, I acknowledge that the subject property is a legal non-conforming use with an operating vineyard and winery. He later said that it conformed with zoning, but there's no discussion of there's no specificity about what the non-conforming use was in the letter or in the judgment. So the parties agreed to that, accepted that language. All parties agreed to what the building official said in November 2017. I think it's a fair question, though, on Ms. Carlson's part about surely an issue that can be could be taken into account going forward if circumstances were to change there. But town and all the parties agreed to is based on a 2017 finding by the town's building officials.
Mhm. And I'm not sure that the town's building official letter specified the frequency of use. It was all about whether it was a non-conforming use, a legal non-conforming use, but not about the frequency or periodicity of the use. So I'm just putting this out there, suggesting that, yeah, before you accept this application for yet another year with this statement that it is not an increase, an intensification of use, that you go back through the past several years and review what you define as an intensification of use, and whether the proposal does constitute, in fact, an intensification of the historic use of that property.
Well, it's definitely not an intensification from 2 years ago when they had one event, and it's not an intensification of last year where they had no events.
Exactly. But this has been the same, they have answered the same way on their applications for several years now, probably going back to at least 2016.
Do you have any legal paperwork that says that how many it's had before they bought this property? I think that's been discussed already.
My question would be, do you have, did the town council have that documentation before you took a decision on whether or not this was an intensification? That's why I'm asking you. I have information.
Well, why don't you put that information forward?
I could. But my question is, do you have it? Did you take your decision based on the data?
I believe we did have that originally, but this has been going on for so many years. So, I mean, originally we did, and we didn't think it was an intensification of use. Obviously, with you and being an abutting neighbor and not liking the situation, you're going to have your own viewpoints. The council's going to have our viewpoints.
Didn't they, Gerard, didn't they ask for 1 year, they asked for like 47 events and we said no, we hauled them all the way back to 28 because we said that anything above the 28 would be an intensification of use, the 14 and 14. And then the Ag Trust got involved and they said you could have up to 14 on their piece. So we just matched that to the 14 for weddings or whatever on the other piece. But I remember they asked for an exorbitant amount and we said no, we cut them back because we said that was the pattern, that was not, it was an intensification of use if they went over the 14 and 14.
Well, my understanding from the history, from the point that I got involved, was when I saw the Ag Trust limitation of 14 and 14. And from that point forward, that's, we were getting close to the point where the court sort of mandated the same license being issued every year. I didn't see a lot of the history in terms of council action prior to that time. So, I'm coming from that perspective of from the point where we sort of saw the 14 and 14 limitation that was imposed by the letter from the Ag Trust. But it sounds like certainly there was history where there were many more events than that, and then that was reined back in.
Right.
Yeah, that did happen.
Since the vineyard was purchased, there had been a steady intensification of events, with no indication that such an intensification was taking place. Up to the point where the Ag Trust said no more than 14 events on the property abutting on concert events. I'm talking about concert events on the property that's abutting my property. So none of you were aware of this, that this was an intensification, despite the fact that we wrote about it. And then I would like to know, what is the meaning of this sentence about what will the use of the property intensify, increase duration, frequency, or periodicity, any non-conforming use per chapter 14, yes or no?
It's intended to,
Said no. What if they say yes? What happens if they say yes?
it's intended to ascertain whether there has been any violation of chapter 14, the zoning ordinance, which says if you have a non-conforming use, you may
Mhm.
not intensify it.
Yep.
So that's the purpose of the question.
So
We
when,
asked-
so if they say yes, then what happens in order for you to approve the entertainment license?
If the zoning official were to opine that there was such intensification, that then would have, I believe, had it been cited that way, we would have had that be part of our approval process. Since it was not, and I'm accepting what you're saying and have no reason to doubt that you have the documents to be able to say that's what it says. If it says no, we did not go further to say, why is it no?
Even when questions were raised by the public disputing the fact that it was a no, that it in fact was an intensification of use.
No, as I think you're likely, you're quite aware, that caused great length of discussion, absolutely.
Mhm.
And as a result, the numbers typically the numbers requested went down as a result of the pressure that came from the residents through the council to the applicant.
Mm-hmm. So, but it's not clear to me, if you answer this question as a yes, what are the steps that happen after that point in order to get the license approved?
Mr. Mushin, I believe if they answer yes, and it says on the application itself, if they acknowledge that and they apply as it being an intensification, then the matter is reviewed to the zoning board, referred to the zoning board review, and the applicant would have to apply for a special use permit and meet those criteria to get a special use permit, which would then be, I think, brought back as part of the application for the entertainment license.
Right.
Can I just jump in for a second?
Yes.
Christine, I understand and I sympathize with your question, because I know you're telling me that you've been asking it for a number of years. And I think you're pointing out perhaps a flaw in our application here. I'd say the way that it's written in the application, the applicant takes on it's on the applicant to prove or to show that there's no intensification, only if they're asked about it. It's a tough situation. The last 2 years that I've been on the council, we've been kind of required to grant them the same number of licenses. So I don't really know how to answer your question. And it's something that I have not considered before this evening. So that's why I've been kind of silent here. I don't really know how to answer what you're putting forward, but I do think that you do have, your question has merit. And I think it does point out, what could be a flaw in our application process.
Yes. Thank you, Councilor Moore. It does come to the question of the due diligence of the town council not just to accept applications, but to actively review the veracity of the information included therein. And since the town council is responsible for issuing entertainment licenses from one year to the next, there should be some system of monitoring whether the applications are complied with, conformed with, so that you can determine actually this question that you have on the application about whether or not it is intensification of use. If you just have it there and nobody monitors and nobody checks, it's useless for neighbors seeking redress. Right? If we were talking not about the vineyards, if we were talking about Crowthers or the place in Adamsville that had outdoor music, and they said that they were going to have 50 concerts and that it wasn't intensification of use, and the neighbor said it was, would the town council normally review whether it was or not? Would you have any mechanism in place to say whether it's an intensification of use or not? And given the number of instances where this has come up over the last 8 years, I would say, why don't you have a system in place for this?
Well, Crothers only has indoor entertainment. And when Simmons came in front of us, we were reluctant to issue that license. We did. And now they've had no. So if you're talking about this year's application, there's been no intensification of use at the Secana Vineyards, at Crothers, or Simmons, because Simmons had no events. Secana Vineyards had no events. That's what we're passing right now, is this application for 2021.
Mm-hmm.
There's been no intensification last year, and they're going to be prohibited to the 14, and they're going to have to come back. They're going to have to come back to us 30 days ahead of anything. So if they go over the 14, which the judge allowed previously, we want to say, no, you can't have more than 14. I mean, that's the only way I can explain it to you, Christina. I mean, I'm not going to go back 40 years to what the Secana Vineyard did 40 years ago. Okay.
I'm not suggesting that you go back 40 years. I'm suggesting that you go back to the date of sale of the vineyard, which happened at the end of 2012.
Yeah. Okay.
You had neighbors already complaining in 2014, 2015, and 2016 when the town council approved applications.
And I believe when the town council approved the applications, the judge agreed with the entertainment license that we approved.
What judge?
The judge did the memorandum of understanding.
No.
We could go forward for 3 years with that. Gerard, you want to jump in?
With 14, it was a compromise that you could go ahead for 3 years with 14 and that we would not dispute it. It was not an agreement or endorsement of the setting of the level of 14. So I propose, rather than take up the remaining time of this, that we address this at a later meeting once there has been some research on your part into how you've come up with the definition of whether something is an intensification or not, and review it at that point.
There's a motion on the table, Bob.
That the motion at this point is that you approve it minus that or pending your confirmation of whether or not it constitutes an intensification of use this year's and prior years, because this goes back a number of years. Every year I raise it, it's never addressed.
I'm happy to have that discussion and review, and we can exchange information with respect to that. That's certainly an appropriate question on your part. The motion before us is to accept this application contingent upon a number of items that I've outlined. I don't believe that violates your interest in making sure that what we eventually approve, which is not before us, we don't have anything to to approve in the sense of, may we hold this wedding or that concert. When we have that, the question of intensification certainly can be discussed and disputed and resolved if need be. But I would suggest that before that, I'm happy to have the conversation that says, here's what I believe we have done over the years and why it constitutes no intensification. If we find that there has been, I will acknowledge that and we can take further steps. But I don't believe that we have inadvertently overlooked intensification. We've asked the question, we've looked at the data, whatever it might be that the various building officials have presented us, and that's how we've made our decision. But I'm happy to revisit that and be shown how it was that we failed to do something and we can improve that process.
That would be lovely. I'd appreciate transparency on this particular issue.
Bob,
Okay, yes.
So I'm saying thank you.
thank you, Mrs. Carlson. Bob, might I suggest you reread your motion since it's been so long since they heard it? That way it's clear what they're voting on.
Can I just ask one more question before he rereads it? This is a question for Carol, really. Did they submit an updated letter from the Ag Trust approving the use of the property?
The Ag Trust themselves has not given me that letter, but I do all of their meetings and they were fine.
Okay, so they did approve it at their meeting this month?
Yeah.
Okay, because the letter you included was from 2017, or the letter they included was from 2017.
Well, that wasn't the Ag Trust, that was from the other state agency.
No, the one I'm looking at in our packet was from Little Compton Ag Trust.
Was it? I'm sorry, I thought it was from the state agency.
Oh, okay, all right.
And can I just ask one more question, Bob, before you read the motion? And I just would ask Attorney Galvin to clarify if he can, but not to pin him down on a future requirement. But as I understand it, the memorandum of understanding and the consent judgment required us to grant in 2019 and 2020 the same entertainment license that had been issued in 2018. That requirement, as I understand it, has expired, that specific requirement. And the question I have then is this question of, it seems to me that the uses are pretty clear under the settlement. That is, the uses have been established for the vineyard. But the terms of an entertainment license, perhaps including the number of events, are not necessarily set in stone. I don't want to, it's not a loaded question. I just want to get some guidance from you about going forward. What is the scope of the council's ability to consider the terms of an entertainment license, if you follow my question?
Yeah, I absolutely believe the number of events allowed is within the discretion of the council, in addition to the conditions you may wish to set upon approving an application for an entertainment license. You're no longer bound by the status quo agreement that was put into effect for that period of time in that order.
Thank you.
The motion then on the table is to accept the application as submitted and require no fewer than 30 days notification before the first occasion of each type of event, wedding, concert, etc., for approval of that type of event. The onus is on the applicant to notify the council with sufficient advance warning in addition to 30 days to allow the council to schedule for consideration the request and for the applicant to have time to implement whatever sound mitigation conditions the council requires in the event that the council approves the application with such conditions. I'll ask then for a roll call vote on that motion. Councillor Anderson.
I'm going to vote in favor of this motion. Aye.
Councillor Golembeski.
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. The motion then carries 5-0. And thank you for the discussion, which I think was edifying in trying to get to this this first step for this year for this license. Next item of business is to approve victualling license requests. We have we have 13 of them. They are A1 Pizza, Art Cafe, Barn Restaurant, Carolyn's Secundit Vineyard, Commons Lunch, Crothers Restaurant, Secundit Golf Club, Secundit Point Club, Simmons Cafe and Market, Stonehouse, Warrens Point Beach Club, Wilbur General Store, and Young Family Farm.
Motion to approve those 13 victualling licenses.
Subject
Oh.
to,
I'll second.
All state and local, all local and state requirements.
thank you. The motion is made by Mataronis and seconded by Golembeski. Is there further discussion? A roll call vote for approval. Counselor Anderson. Yes, sir.
Aye.
Thank you. Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. That passes 5-0. Holiday sales license requests. There are 15. A1 Pizza, Art Cafe, Barn Restaurant, Carolyn's Secundit Vineyard, Commons Lunch, Crothers Restaurant, Earl's Service Station, Secundit Golf Club, Secundit Point Club, Simmons Cafe and Marketplace, Stonehouse, Walker's Roadside Stand, Warren Point Beach Club, Wilbur's General Store, and Young Family Farm.
Make a motion to approve the 15 holiday sales license request with all local and state requirements adhered to.
I'll second that one as well.
Motion made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski. Is there further discussion? Roll call vote. Counselor Anderson. We will return.
Aye.
Counselor, aye is heard. Counselor
Try
Golembeski.
again. Aye. That's a lag.
Aye.
You got it?
Thank you. Counselor Mataronis.
Aye.
Counselor Moore.
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. That's 5-0. 2 licenses for mobile food establishments, Anita's Ice Cream and Seashore Hot Dogs.
Motion to approve the 2 mobile food establishment requests with all local and state requirements adhered to before issuance.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion. A roll call vote. Counselor Anderson.
Aye.
Counselor Golembeski.
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis.
Aye.
Counselor Moore.
Aye.
Mushin, aye. And then 2 miscellaneous licenses, a jukebox license. I got it. And for Crothers Restaurant and a moving picture license for the community center.
Motion to approve the 2 miscellaneous other license requests with local and state requirements adhered to before issuance.
I'll second as well.
Motion made by Counselor Mataronis, second by Counselor Golembeski to approve. Is there further discussion?
What's a jukebox? No, I'm just kidding.
Are you a jukebox hero? I'm kidding with that song. The old timers have.
Dear, oh dear. Yeah. Thank you. Where am I on this?
Counselor Anderson,
Counselor Anderson, thank you.
Aye.
Counselor Golembeski.
Aye.
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis.
Aye.
Counselor Moore.
Aye.
Counselor Mushin, aye. Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Announcements. The town hall will be closed tomorrow. We're restoring after an opportunity to do a deep cleaning. We've done that deep cleaning late. In fact, it may still be in progress. And we'll be recovering from that tomorrow. So it will be closed. Otherwise, the town hall is available, and certainly even tomorrow is available by normal means of communication, email or call. Are there other announcements? All right. Old business, receive a report from the town administrator and Allison Quay of the Solicitor's Office on the next step for zoning district amendment petition for plat 30 lot 8-1. This is the petition to move the boundary of the business zone in lot 8-1. I can summarize that, or administrator, if you wish to do so, either way.
I can jump in very quickly. It's very brief. Obviously, it has to be referred to the planning board. The planning board will consider the recommendation, and will consider the issue, or the matter, I should say, and then refer that back to the town council with a recommendation within 45 days.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
we've done something similar to this, which is called the Arkins property, or it was called the Arkins property on Willow Avenue. And that went quite well because the public had a lot to say, and it was very, very informative, and it, I believe, shaped the success of that project. Likewise, when we built the police fire complex, there was a slight extension of the business zone that was certainly considered. It was kind of an interesting case quite a while ago, where the town council actually appeared before the zoning board. That won't happen in this case, but so we've addressed these issues before. And I think given the planning board's expertise, it makes a lot of sense to refer to the planning board, and then whatever they say, the town council can have a public hearing. I do believe that the application as designed is simple, clean, and frankly makes a lot of sense in a practical sense. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Do we need then a motion to refer it to the planning board? I don't recall what we did in our last meeting.
Yes, we do need that motion.
Thank you. Is there then a motion to refer this matter to the planning board for their comment and conformance with the comprehensive plan?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion's made by Golembeski, second by Moore to refer the matter for the planning board's consideration. Any further discussion? Councillor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Councillor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councillor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councillor Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. The motion carries 5-0. The next is new business, consideration of tree lighting, what's called the Commons Stroll, and potential participation by one or more churches to ring carols during a designated date and time. The clerk has done some good work in this area to solicit interest. And in fact, the Congregational Church has agreed to ring its carol on Sunday, December 6th at 5 p.m. in conjunction with a tree lighting ceremony. Of course, we'll need to conform that to newly revealed assembly requirements that were announced only this afternoon. But it sounds like a great way to at least acknowledge what has in the past been the tree spree and will not happen this year. I don't know that we need any motion, town clerk. Do you need anything more from this or what?
This is Carol speaking. I'd love to have a motion to accept the Congregational Church's participation in our tree lighting.
So moved.
Second.
The motion then is made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski, to approve the participation of Congregational Church in the tree lighting ceremony on Sunday, December 6th. Any further discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote. Councillor Anderson,
I vote aye.
Councillor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councillor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councillor Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you for the effort, Carol.
Welcome.
The next item is a memo that I have proposed, and I don't need action on this tonight. I am looking at a number of town ordinances and charter chapters or charter sections in which we need to bring ourselves into, those two need to be in agreement with each other. And we need to be sure that we do things that we've now found to be necessary as a result of bringing aboard a finance director, or in some cases, changing the way we do things in the police or fire department. What I'd like you to do, and I would ask that Councilor-elect Wallach also look at this, look at these items and see if there's something there that you would like to be involved in. And then what my theory or what my proposal is that we have a counselor, a department head, and the administrator come back to the full council with, here's what I think you should do. It's different. Obviously, the things that are ordinance related, we then take up as ordinance changes, and the things which are charter changes, we need to put before the public in referendum. So if you would look at that, and we'll return with that next time, unless there are questions here that you'd like to ask about what my intentions are.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Would your intention be to put any charter changes through the Charter Review Commission next year?
You know,
Or would it be separate from that.
I've thought about that, and that's certainly possible. We might want to send a signal that we think this is very important. We might also want to say, here's the language I think you ought to consider. And then frankly, we still retain the authority to put it on the ballot ourselves. I mean, to put it before the people ourselves, I should say. So I guess my answer is both yes and no. I think that that's certainly appropriate, and we would make them aware of it at all in every respect. But as to whether they choose to take it up or not, we might still wish to, since a lot of it is what I'll call inside baseball, we might want to do it anyway.
Okay.
Bob, since I have a working relationship with the assessor, I'll put forward my name to work with her and the town administrator to
Okay.
over those charter sections.
Okay.
This is Councilmember Anderson. I won't be involved in this process. My experience as a member and a one-time chair of charter review commissions, I'm a little concerned about, and I acknowledge that the council has the right to propose charter amendments at any time, either at a general election or at a special election. That's the constitutional requirement. I don't recall that we've ever done in 25 years. But I do think that if you initiate this now without the involvement of the Charter Commission, Review Commission, that this will be very, they will feel like bumps on a log if they're circumvented at this particular time. I know that's been a feeling on some charter commissions in the past, that knowing that the council can veto or ignore their work anyway, that this you lay out is a little bit, maybe a little bit frustrating.
Okay.
For the citizens who might want to participate in this. Yeah, I'm yes, go ahead.
I'll certainly take that comment, and my intention is not to try to circumvent or I know that it might come across. Sorry.
I think you're getting feedback from something, Bob.
I guess I am. Point well taken, Larry. My only purpose in including it is to not exclude it from consideration by those who are looking at ordinance only. Part of our problem is our ordinances and our charter sections don't conform with each other, and we need to identify them.
I'll just make one more strictly political point. The council can adopt ordinances on its own. There's no way to get around getting the voters to approve, to persuade the voters to reject charter changes. It's easy to convince people to vote no. So it's very important for the council to seek consensus before they propose charter change.
All right, thank you. I do not wish to do any of those negative things, so I take your advice, and we don't have to. My purpose in this was not to try to get out ahead of something, rather it's to be consistent. All right, I don't need a motion on that. I don't need you. I appreciate Councilor Mataronis' interest in that. You don't need this. I'd just like you to reflect on this and see whether this makes sense, including we discard it. I'm not. There are other ways to get ourselves across the finish line. I just think it's important that many of the things that we do inside the town hall need to be reflected in our ordinances rather than part of local lore. All right. Then the consent calendar.
Motion to place the consent calendar on file unless anybody has any questions or comments on it.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there further discussion? Councilor Anderson.
Is there further discussion? Councilor Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Next is payment of bills. I have a bill that, based upon, it was received in a timely fashion. Based upon my oversight, it was not submitted for consideration. It is not, I'm adding it to the list of those that we propose to approve. It's an amount of $2,359.50 to support or in response to the solicitor's work in a series of zoning matters. And that I would propose be added to what's in front of you.
So
I would
moved.
then seek a motion to pay the bills, including that bill.
I'm assuming Gary so moved included that, and I'll second as well. I do have one comment.
You can't assume anything that I do, Paul. But I'll make that motion to approve the bills.
I printed out the bills on a comical note. I printed out the bills, walked away from my computer. It was 33 pages.
It was 33 pages.
Anyway,
We
let's
have
move on.
feedback happening here.
Very well.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Everything's off here.
Please stop talking.
Roll
Roll
call.
call vote. Anderson. Golembeski.
Aye.
Aye.
Mataronis.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Having no further business, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention.
I know.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Nice to have you
Thank
stand
you.
by on you.
Happy Thanksgiving in case I don't see you before then.